Hello and welcome to another edition of Falcon Focus. It is episode number 21 and our ninth episode here in semester number 2. I am back. Thanks for joining us. My name is Matt Menzel. Thanks to Jeremy Crawford, the Director of Athletic Communications, for filling in for me last week while I was on another assignment out of state. But we are back and ready to go for this new episode of Falcon Focus. And in segment number 2, we'll talk women's volleyball with Sophia Collins. But first, here in segment number 1, we talk men's lacrosse with senior attacker Keijo Day. And Keijo, I want to start there with your first name because it is spelled Keijo for those wondering at home and those that see the little graphic in the bottom of the screen perhaps. But my question for you is, okay, somebody sees that spelling. You've been playing sports for a number of years. I'm venturing to guess you've heard it said many different ways, not just Keijo. If that's the case, what might be the most unique way you've ever heard it pronounced?
I don't think most people in life ever get it right, whether that be a professor or an announcer or anything like that. Last week at Hanover, the announcer said Kijo. I think a couple weeks ago I heard Kaijo. Just a bunch of different things always. You get used to it in 21 years. So
I was gonna say it doesn't bother you at this point anymore.
no, I think when I was little I used to get like fed up at like a hockey tournament. I'd yell my real name back, but at this point I'm used to it.
Well, you're from Esko, Minnesota. That's Esko, home to 1,869 residents. I guess where in Minnesota is Esko, and in your opinion, what is that town known for?
Um, I usually just tell people Duluth because Esco's so small. But if you look at Lake Superior, right where it comes to a point, that's Duluth, and just south of there is Esco. Um, Small town, obviously. Not. There's one gas station now and like a cafe, but that's about it. So, not much there. When you want to do something fun, you usually go to Duluth. So,
You go to Duluth. How far away is Duluth, time
it's like
wise?
20 minutes from my parents' place.
Well, in high school, first of all, how big was your high school class? I can't imagine it was all that big.
So I actually went to Carleton High School, which is down the street, and I graduated with 37 kids.
Whoa.
Esco High School, when I left there, my class had like 110, but I think they graduated with around 80. So.
Well, in high school, you played lacrosse, basketball, football. As a sophomore, your lacrosse team brought home a state championship. I guess when you look back at that state championship season, what are some of the memories you have of that run to the title?
That was a unique year. That was the last year of that program of a bunch of different high schools that came together. We had kids going to Division I schools, kids going D3 schools. Just the talent on that team was unlike anything I've seen before, and it was just so fun. I think we lost the first game of the year and then never lost again, and beat that team that beat us the first game of the year in the championship. So it was a good, fun year.
When you talk about that co-op situation, okay, you look in Wisconsin, and certainly from a college standpoint, lacrosse has all of a sudden, blossomed. You see programs popping up left and right. But say, maybe a decade ago, that wasn't the case. How about in Minnesota? Was it always a popular sport, or is it something that you've kind of seen over the last now maybe decade plus start to grow in popularity?
When I started, I was in seventh grade, and there was one U15 team for probably 10 area high schools. And now there's like 4 or 5 different youth programs, 4 or 5 different high schools that have sanctioned lacrosse. And when I started, no high schools had sanctioned lacrosse. It was all club lacrosse. So the growth in Minnesota, especially northern Minnesota, is tenfold, right? Like there's crazy differences all over the board. Each youth program has 4 or 5 teams at each level now. Girls lacrosse has grown a ton as well, so it's just nonstop up there.
So, what piqued your interest in the sport? What's your first memory? How did you go about, just picking up a lacrosse stick and playing?
I think I just drove by public school stadium, which is an area high school, and there was lacrosse going on, and I wasn't having a ton of fun with baseball as a sixth grader, so I was like, Dad, I think I want to play that. And I was playing a lot of hockey, so my hand-eye coordination was really good. That first year lacrosse, I always tell the story, I never played a single game. I was playing travel hockey, so I would practice during the week, and all our games were on the weekend, so I never played any games because I was always playing hockey. So But that next 8th grade, I think practicing helped me a lot because 8th grade was just a lot easier for me, and I started to play games, and it was a lot more fun than anything I'd ever done.
But you still enjoyed the sport even though you weren't playing in games?
Oh, it was a blast. I think I hate being bad at things, so I would get really frustrated, and that just makes me work harder, and I just picked it up and learned and tried to be the best I could be.
So, okay, you're in high school playing lacrosse. We mentioned some of the other sports you played as well at the prep level. Was the thought, hey, you know what, I can potentially play this sport, lacrosse, at the next level, or I just want to play a sport at the next level? What was the mindset once high school was starting to wind down?
So I didn't actually play basketball and football except for my senior year. I played high school hockey until I was a junior, and then my senior year, I didn't play hockey anymore. So all my buddies were like, "Come play basketball." And we're at a small school, obviously, so nobody's getting cut. But I actually made an impact. We went 26-4 or something like that my senior year of basketball. But I think for me, I kind of knew after that sophomore year when we won that championship, like lacrosse is what I wanted to play in high school. Both my parents were college athletes, and I just had that competitive drive where I knew I was good at lacrosse. I wanted to be the best I could be. So I think lacrosse was always my choice.
I want to dive in, and we will in a moment, about your hockey career because that's something that is omitted from your CWFalcons.com bio. You know, it's one of those where it lists this sport, that sport, but not a lot about hockey. And what maybe some may not realize is you spent the year on the ACHA hockey team here on the Concordia campus. We'll get into that in a moment, but I guess, okay, so talking about that next step, you're going from the prep level to the collegiate level. So you're from Esco, Minnesota. How the heck did you find Concordia? Why Concordia?
So Esco is about 2 hours from St. Paul, Minneapolis area, where in the summers I played on a travel team that went all over the country. And I think when you go to these tournaments all over the country in Colorado, California, out east, stuff like that, there's coaches littered on the sidelines, college coaches. And I think Coach Fahey saw me in California, and he sent me an email, and I think when I came on my visit, it was just the spot I wanted to be. Obviously, I come from a small area, small school. The big school definitely would not be for me. So I think Concordia was just a fit once Coach Fahey reached out and showed interest. And whenever you show a high schooler interest, it kind of works out. So.
And we'll talk about lacrosse in a second, but now let's go back to hockey and that one season spent on the ACHA hockey team. You appeared in 8 games for the Falcons. You had 4 assists. We won't mention the fact that you had 12 penalty minutes as well. But how did that opportunity come about? Where do you even start with? Okay, you're playing lacrosse, and all of a sudden, hey, now you're on the ACHA hockey team.
The graduate assistant strength coach knew I was from Minnesota, knew I played high school hockey. I was working out one day, and Coach Richards, the ACHA coach, was in there, and he needed guys. I actually played forward in high school, but they needed some guys to fill the blue line, so he asked if I'd come out and just check it out, watch one of their games on the weekend. I watched. I was like, I think I could pick it up and play a little bit. So I went to practice. First day of practice, I skate on the ice. First drill, I'm skating backwards, catch an edge, fall on my back, get up, go to carve, fall over again. It was a rough first day, but I thank Coach Richards for that opportunity. Obviously, I wasn't the best right off the bat, but I think I made an impact in those 8 games when they needed a guy to step up. So I had a blast.
So prior to that season, when was the last time you played any kind of organized hockey?
Junior year of high school, so what would be the winter of 2015, 2016.
So it's been a while. It's been about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it'd been a decent amount of time. Obviously, from Minnesota, going back home in the winters, like we play a little bit of pond hockey, skate on the local outdoor rink. So it's not like I hadn't touched a stick or skated on ice, but I definitely had not played organized hockey in a long time.
So venture to guess, by the time the ACHA hockey season was winding down, all of a sudden you're thinking lacrosse. I mean, it's starting to crisscross. How did you go about juggling those two?
Part of Coach Richards' thing was he said that once lacrosse started, I could go back to lacrosse. He knew I was a key focal point on the lacrosse team. I was a captain, and he knew that I wanted to play lacrosse, but he knew he needed guys. So we kind of made the agreement that once lacrosse started, I'd go back to lacrosse, and it worked out great. And I'm thankful for my time on the ACHA team as well.
You look at your first lacrosse season with the Falcons back in 2018, and you were named All Midwest Lacrosse Conference. I don't mention, I have to make sure I get the conference name right because now it's under the NAC umbrella now going forward. But All Midwest Lacrosse Conference, I will mention, you had 26 goals, 7 of those were man-up goals. You also had 16 assists. You had at one point 4 consecutive hat tricks. You know, just looking at those numbers, you would say, boy, it was a smooth transition making that jump from the prep level to the collegiate game. Was it as smooth as those numbers would indicate?
I had to put in a lot of work to get where I was. I'm a bigger kid, but I gain weight fast. So for me to be quick, it takes a lot of work. And I think in that off season, I put in a lot of work with my dad and my strength coaches back home. But I think it was sometimes it was hard and sometimes it was easy. But Coach Fahey and the coaching staff taught me a ton of things when I got here, and I always tell everybody that's coming in, the freshmen, the sophomores, pay attention to what the coaches are saying. Like, everybody thinks because I started since I was a freshman that I just knew everything when I got here, but I learned so much in my first fall and first spring that I credit all that to the coaching staff.
When I talk to like basketball athletes, for instance, and ask, okay, what's the biggest difference between high school and collegiate basketball? A lot of, the responses I get is, oh, it's faster. The players are bigger, stronger. How about in lacrosse? What was the biggest difference going from one level to the next?
I think the speed of the game. There's some big kids in high school lacrosse as well, but the speed of the game when you get here is so different. The addition now of a shot clock, you don't have that in high school lacrosse. And everybody's just faster. The game moves faster. The goalies are throwing outlets faster. You know, everything to the littlest things about the game is faster, and that it was definitely the biggest shock for me when I got here.
Well, by year number 2 in 2019, you were second team all-conference, led the team with a total of 58 points, scoring 41 goals, adding 17 assists. But how about that team? Winning a regular season and a tournament championship. You beat Aurora finally in that conference tournament final. It's become an annual event. Falcons, Spartans in a tournament championship. What, in your opinion, made that 15-4 squad so special?
We wanted to win. That was the biggest thing for us. We had all been defeated in the conference championship the year prior, except for the freshmen, obviously. But those seniors had lost 4 years in a row in the conference championship, and nobody was going to let that happen again. Obviously, it starts on the back end with senior goaltender Garrett Wolford, who was an All-American that year. And then we had seniors Aiden Connolly and Stephen Gregory leading the offense. I think just the amount of skill and talent on that team was never going to let us lose that year. It was a fun year, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Then 2020, you got 6 games in before COVID-19 would cancel the duration of that season. When did you start, I guess, getting back into that lacrosse mindset? Certainly COVID-19 hits, season's canceled, you guys have the long summer, come back to school here in the fall. As far as the lacrosse season schedule goes, you're still playing at the same time as you normally would, but as far as activity goes, when did you start getting back into that lacrosse mindset, back into lacrosse shape?
Well, this summer I had the opportunity to play a little bit of indoor lacrosse, which is 5-on-5 inside of a hockey rink, a little bit more contact, a little bit more physical. So I had my stick in my hands all summer. In the fall, we got to do a little bit of an abbreviated season than we normally would, a little bit more stick skills and stuff like that. But once that winter rolled around, I was in the Catalyst working every day pretty much with some teammates. And I don't think for me I ever got out of that mindset. I coach in the summer as well, so lacrosse is always in my life, 24/7 kind of. So for me, I was just always locked in and raring to get back at it. So.
And you're a 3-time captain now of the Falcon lacrosse team. What does that mean to you?
I think I've always been pushed by my parents to be a leader, and I think that kind of started with them. When I got here, my freshman year, obviously I wasn't a captain, but I wanted to make an impact everywhere I could, whether that be I noticed something that my teammates could do better or something like that. And I think being a captain, especially a 3-time captain, means a lot because I'm voted by my peers to be a captain. And I just think if I can support my teammates, help them improve, and show that lead by example. I think that's all that you can ask for.
Let's dive into this 2021 season. Right now, the Falcons, as we sit here, are off to a 2-0 start and will be in action on Wednesday at 4 p.m. from Fitting Field against, note the nickname is now Carthage College. The Firebirds is the new nickname they've adopted here this school year, but the Firebirds will be here on Wednesday at 4 p.m. And then also note it's part of a two-match homestand. The match on Saturday has been moved to 10 a.m. on Sunday against North Central, but okay, season started on February the 27th. Kind of odd because you just never know if the season's going to get all the way through, but it was senior day at the beginning of the year versus the end of the season. I guess let's start there because you were one of the seniors honored. What did that mean to you, again, just being honored for your time and your commitment to this program?
Those 7 or 8 guys that were honored on senior day, we've created a brotherhood like no other. Just in our last away game, we got to stay in a hotel, which is rare in today's day and age. But we were all kind of sitting in our room just laughing and reminiscing. And to go out with those guys is something special. I mean, we've spent 4 years together. When you spend 4 years with the same guys every single day, you create a bond. And I just think that's so special that we got to celebrate that and make sure we got that in before the end of the year.
And a great celebration, capped off with a victory against Dubuque by a 9-7 score. You scored the first goal not only of that matchup, but also of the season for the Falcons. Part of a hat-trick performance, also added 1 assist. And then you mentioned the Hanover matchup. That was this past weekend, March the 13th. Hanover, coached by the first-ever lacrosse coach for the Falcon program, Jeff Roberts. And the Falcons came away with an 11-7 win after overcoming an early 1-0 deficit. You had 2 goals, 1 assist. I guess when you look at the 2 games themselves, your takeaway from what you've seen so far from yourself, from this team, as you go forward into this 2021 season?
We're very young on the back end. And with COVID, you can't really take every day for granted, or you have to take every day for granted. We were out 2 of our starting defensemen in that game. And we had our starting goalie, Alex Loading, playing pole. And our backup, Adam Nichols, in at goalie that game. So things were a little off, but I think to the start of the season we've adapted a little bit. You got to be ready whenever your number's called, and I think we're making the most of it right now. And we've got lucky a couple times, and we've worked hard for what we have, so we're going to keep doing that.
Well, and you bring up a point I don't want to, spend a lot of time talking about it. In fact, I was mentioning is the fact that this team has been on pause a little bit here for COVID-19. So you mentioned some of the obstacles that you have to overcome here in 2021. So we talk about the first 2 matchups. As mentioned, Carthage coming up on Wednesday before North Central. The NAC Conference opener is on March 31st at Edgewood College, a first-year program. Want to bring up, though, April 3rd. That's the big one against Aurora. Always circle on the calendar. It's going to be at Fitting Field at 1 p.m. What's that rivalry mean to you? Certainly it's been meaningful every time you play Aurora.
Aurora always feels like a championship game, kind of. The energy in the air is definitely heavy, and you can definitely feel it. I think from my freshman year, I didn't really understand it. And then after that first face-off, you realize quickly, like, okay, this is a different game. Aurora is never the same. Aurora could be 0-10 and we could be 10-1 in the season, and it's always going to be a good game, right? I can't wait every time that that game comes around just to get the opportunity to beat Aurora, and that's always our goal when we play them and every other team in the conference.
So to wrap it all up, I guess when you look at the road ahead, and we'll see what happens here in 2021 as far as the tournament goes and beyond. But I guess what personal goals do you have for yourself as you try to end strong?
I want to get back to where we were in 2019. Get back to the NCAA tournament as a team, and I'll be happy no matter what happens. I am grateful that we get this opportunity to play, especially after last year only getting to play 6 games. Just to be out there with my brothers is a blast, and I couldn't ask for anything more.
KO, it's not Kaijo or Kijo, it's KO. KO Day, thanks a lot for joining us. Best of luck not only tomorrow, but going forward here in 2021. And we'll be watching and cheering as the Falcon men's lacrosse team looks to continue their success again off to a 2-0 start here in this 2021 campaign. Speaking of success, when we come back, we talk women's volleyball with Sophia Collins. They're off to a 3-1 start with a sweep of Lakeland and a split against Wisconsin Lutheran. That and more as we continue with this edition of Falcon Focus.
Seems every college starts by asking the same question. What do you want to do for a living? You want to be a teacher, a businessman, a nurse? At Concordia University, we ask a slightly different question. What kind of person do you want to be? Because we believe success in life should be measured by how you live, not just what you do. Of course, that may not be the common way, but at Concordia, it's the only way. Concordia University. Live uncommon.
Welcome back to Falcon Focus. Oh, how I've missed spraying the air and disinfecting our surroundings as making sure that we keep it safe here inside the John Book Fieldhouse. Make sure I got the hand sanitizer. Sophia, would you like some hand sanitizer?
Of course.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
We're all safe and keeping it clean for Falcon Focus as we turn our attention now to women's volleyball, segment number 2, and talking with junior outside hitter Sophia Collins. How much fun is it, back in the fall, there was no season. You had an extended training camp. But how much fun is it just being back in match action, being back on the court in meaningful matchups against a different school?
Yeah, it's been unreal. I never thought I would be in this situation, being almost a year and a half without an actual game. And so to be back, to be playing against people that aren't ourselves has been unreal. And that first match was great. And it's just been continuing to be super exciting to have real competition again.
So once the match starts, does it feel different? Does it feel, pre-COVID times? I mean, do you even think about that? Does that even, cross your mind? Are you just out there playing volleyball?
Good question. So I would say it feels like it's pretty much back to normal. We're wearing a mask. Sometimes in those longer rallies, it's a little harder to breathe. But, you got to do what you have to do to keep things safe to be able to continue to play volleyball. But once we're in that, in those plays, playing with each other, I think that it feels really normal. And that's not necessarily an obstacle that we've been facing, which is good.
You bring up the masks. How long did it take you to adjust to having the mask on and just getting used to how you go about breathing and just, dealing with it?
Yeah, I had to put on a mask as soon as this pandemic started. I'm a nursing student. I work in a hospital, and so a mask became pretty second nature to me pretty quickly. But I think that there's definitely that added element from running around, sprinting around the court, jumping all the time. That is a little different, and, ideally hope one day these can go away again, but I think it's manageable. If we can play volleyball, I can keep a mask on.
Well, and back in the fall, we mentioned, no volleyball matchups outside of a couple of blue and white scrimmages here inside the John Book Fieldhouse. It was an extended training camp. I guess for the team, in your opinion, what was the overall focus? What areas did you guys really zone in on in preparation for what could be?
Yeah, so we just wanted to make sure that we were staying fresh. The biggest thing was, hey, we know we're not going to get to play other competition right now, but we're going to do what we can to improve ourselves. We lost some great seniors, and so just kind of developing new players to find, what works for us. So that was something that was a big focus for us. And, yeah, just staying fresh and keeping up with the game.
How about for you? Is there any, particular areas you really, focused in on and trying to improve your game?
Yeah, I would say for me, I really wanted to focus on my back row play. I am an outside hitter, but we had our all-around outside graduate, and that was kind of an opening for a position, so definitely something I wanted to work on, have more confidence in, and get some more reps in, and fall season was a great opportunity for that.
What was the mood in that extended training camp in the sense that, back in September, obviously, it's starting to come down, hey, there's not going to be a match of any kind outside of maybe a blue-white scrimmage here in the fall. Maybe you guys will play in the spring. At that point, it wasn't official yet. I mean, was it hard to keep, morale high knowing that you're spending all this time practicing and there may not be a match in this 2020-21 school year? Or did you guys always have that faith that, at some point there will be a season again?
Yeah, it was definitely hard. I think right at the beginning of the year, it was just like, this is going to be canceled. This has changed. This is changing. And that was a lot to take in. But at the same time, I think Concordia overall, over all the sports, did the best that they could to give people an opportunity to even practice, which is a lot more than other schools can say. The fact that we were able to stay in person for classes and to be able to even practice our sport, I think was enough to keep us going, to keep us motivated, with like that idea that there might be something in the spring. That was enough to keep us going and practicing.
No question, a lot of uncertainty. And then finally, March 7th comes rolling around. It's a Sunday, John Book Fieldhouse, Lakeland in town. Lakeland, Concordia, Aurora, the tri-regular season champs back in the fall of 2019. And all of a sudden, that's the way the season starts. It's now a divisional format, and so that's your big rival in the North Division. You guys get them not once but twice in a doubleheader format. Falcons won the first match 3-0, taking a hard-earned second match in 5. I guess when you look back at those matchups, before we even talk about the unique now doubleheader format, in your opinion, what was key to taking care of the Muskies not once but twice?
Yeah, it was just going to be perseverance for us. We have only been practicing, so to all of a sudden, like, going to play potentially 10 sets was going to be a big thing. So we are very lucky to have a lot of depth on our team, and so we're able to make subs, give people a break if they need it, and still feel really confident in our lineup, which is fantastic. But that was a big mindset, and then just keeping up the energy, that was going to be a big thing too. It's going to be long, so those were definitely some of our focuses that we had.
Is it hard to keep the energy up? I know certainly in this particular date it's a little bit different because that first match was so quick. You guys were able to take care of business in 3 sets, but all of a sudden now you have about a 1 hour, a little more than an hour break between match 1 and match 2. Is it easy to keep the energy level up after, taking care of business, then you get a lengthy break and then you got to go back and do it again? Or is it, is that break welcomed?
Yeah, I would say we were okay with that break. It definitely, I think, took us a little bit to get back after the break. It's hard. Like, you're trying to eat food, trying to figure out the best way to even handle the break. So I think it was good. When we ended up playing WOC, that break kind of changed a little bit. So I think it's good to have something because doubleheaders like that are tough. So I think that we did need that break for sure.
So eating food, what's your go-to in between a match?
We order usually as a team, so that's really nice. And we got Jimmy John's, so I really like their beach club.
There you go.
Very delicious.
Well, it paid off because you went from 7 kills up to 14 kills, so you must have had something good to eat in between those 2 matchups. Were you pleased with your performances to start the season? Okay, it's your first opportunity in match action. You're taking on a very good Lakeland team. Were you pleased with how you, at least for you individually, performed?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I can't be too disappointed. I did everything that I could to just try and help the team out. I got some opportunity to play in the back row, which was something I said I was trying to work on. So that was just a really cool opportunity for me. And I was just so happy to be there and have a good time as well.
Something that stood out to me, and I want to get your opinion because obviously you're there on a daily basis. You see the ins and outs and practices in match action, home and away. But it seemed like this is a pretty balanced attack. Now, you certainly, in that second matchup came through with the 14 kills, but it seemed like there were so many different options where these setters can go to and get a kill or a point out of. Is that fair to say that you have a number of players, at least this year, that can really step up and take over a match?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've always been a very strong offensive team. We've always had great hitters, and this year we knew it was going to be different. We lost a lot of great senior hitters, and so we definitely needed some new people to step up to the plate and take those positions of being kill leaders. And I feel like, it's been really evenly distributed. Like, we don't necessarily have one person who's running the show. We can have confidence in all of our hitters, which is great.
And the Falcons run a 2-setter offense with Mackenzie Verts and Sierra Lee. How important is that relationship with you as an outside hitter, to be on the same page with those two? It's almost like a pitcher and a catcher. How important is that relationship? And I'm venturing to guess at this point, you guys have played together for a couple of years. They know where you want that ball placed, where your sweet spot is, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. The connection is huge. I think, it can be tough, too, with these long games. Being an outside, that's the furthest they're ever going to have to push it. So definitely important to, let them know where I'm at and, let them know they can have confidence in me. You can give me that ball and I'm going to do my best with it. So it's important to be able to establish that relationship of trust so that when they give the ball to me, they know that I'm going to do the best I can with it.
How do you know always that the ball is coming your direction? Because it seems like sometimes the setter may have their back turned to you, or all of a sudden they're not looking right at you. Do you guys have some kind of a sign or some kind of maybe a nonverbal communication that you just know that it's coming your way? Or do you always have to be ready at a moment's notice?
Yeah, it's a good question. Definitely depends. So I think like once you play with setters for so long, you can kind of tell even by their position. Obviously, a setter is trying to be very deceptive, but playing with somebody, you'll get to know where they might put it. But at the same time, you always have to be ready. I know I still sometimes get caught off guard. Our setters are really tricky, and that's part of the name of the game. So definitely have to be prepared at all times. Could come anytime.
Yeah, the best part is just when you think you're about to get a set, all of a sudden they make the return, and all of a sudden they throw the other team a curveball. But
Yes.
that two-setter offense for the Falcons, this past Saturday you guys had an opportunity to take on a Wisconsin Lutheran. They're a pesky bunch, especially in their gym, and that was no different here on March the 13th. And you lost that first match, a 5-setter, but great bounce back to win in 5 sets in match number 2. First of all, that's a long day of volleyball. I guess in your opinion, what was the story on Saturday? How are you guys able to, overcome that first match loss?
Yeah, so we knew this was going to be a tough match going in. We knew WLC was going to be great. We had a tough time with them last year, and so we had a lot of determination coming into this game. Really wanted to do well, and I think that just continued to push us, like seeing how close we were to go, like even beyond the 15 points in the 5th set. Like, it is so close. This is anybody's game. So I think that just continued to push us. We had to push each other. We're tired. We had to energize each other, and that was a big focus in that second match for sure.
In match 1, you had a double-double, 11 kills along with 10 digs, and then in match 2, you had 9 kills. I'll ask you again, I mentioned, okay, what do you think of your performances against Lakeland? How about the progress you made from one match to the next in the sense that, okay, Lakeland, you did this here against Wisconsin Lutheran. Do you like the progress you've seen in your play?
Yeah, I think it's been good. Again, I got another opportunity to play back row, which was super fun, super exciting. Never had that chance necessarily to get a double-double, so it's really cool to be able to do that. I think it's been going well. I think just consistency for me is going to be key. I wanted to just be able to perform well every game and not necessarily let that dip. So I was pretty happy with how it went, but I think everybody really stepped up to the plate at that WLC game.
Something that's not new for any volleyball player at any levels, especially at the collegiate levels, the fact that especially non-conference play, in a normal year, you will play multiple matchups in a day. So that's, these doubleheaders, that's nothing new, but it's new in the sense that it's a full match against the same opponent, same venue. What are the challenges with playing maybe, the same conference opponent? The matchups are that much more meaningful, and it is a lengthier day. What are the challenges that come with these doubleheader formats?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the most obvious just has to be, like, the time that you're playing to, like, with WLC, 10 sets in a row. That's a lot. With very minimal break, and knowing how high stakes these games are. In a non-COVID season, we would do tournaments, and that's a little different. They're not necessarily in your conference, but this is like, this could be the top conference opponent, and we have to play them right in a row. Typically, we would play them on 2 separate occasions, and so sometimes you get that chance to step back, look at that film, see what you can improve. And in this situation, you don't always have that chance. You can do what you can, like, to watch during the game, but it just won't be quite the breakdown of a regular season. So I'd say those are some of the challenges this year, but at the same time, it feels even better, I think, to know, hey, we lost that first match and we see what we can improve on. And then to come back and win that second one right away, I think that just gives it an even better feeling.
And, certainly, too, from a coaching standpoint, you will test the depth of your roster, too, perhaps, with some of those longer matches. And when you look at the Falcon Breakdown, there are 28 on the volleyball roster with 9 freshmen, 7 sophomores. You're part of a large 10 junior player class and then a couple of seniors. With all you guys have been through with COVID and this and that, how close is this team, and I guess how have the newcomers fit in?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've been doing a great job. Like, my class, like you said, is pretty big. We have a pretty big impact on the team. A lot of those people end up playing, and so I think it's been great to have that big class and to mesh. And I think overall we've been doing a good job. I think it's been different this year with adding freshmen into the picture, with not starting with a season right away, but I think we've done a good job of getting them into the system. Macy, she's been a really key part of our team too, so I think we've been doing a good job of making sure everybody's meshing, and I think maybe even just only practicing in the fall gave us a good opportunity to really get to know each other.
And again, so far, that's all paying off. This team off to a 3-1 beginning. will be in non-conference play. It's a non-conference matchup against Edgewood on Sunday here inside the John Book Fieldhouse. A single match at 2 p.m. before the scheduled conference doubleheader at Edgewood a week from Sunday on March the 28th. That, again, a doubleheader in Madison. Winning is nothing, new to you. You go back to your high school days and at Lakeside Lutheran, Division II state champions. And knocking off not only a powerhouse in Catholic Memorial in the semis, but knocking off another strong program in Luxembourg Casco in the final. You think back to those days, and what are some of the memories that come to mind from being on that team and that run to Green Bay and bringing home a state title?
Yeah, absolutely. That was an unreal experience for sure, and I think it has definitely taught me a lot of lessons that helped me still throughout college. That state match that we had, we lost the first 2 sets and won the last 3. So I think that has given me a lot of perseverance. I know what it feels like to, maybe feel hopeless at some point in the game, but I think that just proves that it's never too late to make a change. You can still win that match, and, to have that 5th set in a state match and such high stakes, I think that's helped me to know how to perform under pressure, which is really great.
And if I remember correctly, you guys were at state the year before, correct?
That is correct.
And lost, and then so you had to overcome that too of how do we get back here? And now if we get back there, what do we got to do differently to get over this hump and get to that championship matchup?
Yeah, absolutely. And we just had so much good competition that senior year. We knew we could get there for sure, and it was just going to be, every single game mattered. So that was quite a year for sure.
I asked KO when he was on during the first segment how he got involved in lacrosse. How about for you at volleyball? How did you get involved in the sport? What's your first memory of playing the sport?
I started playing club volleyball when I was 12 years old, but my elementary school actually allowed us to play when we were pretty young as well. So I just really enjoyed the sport, thought club might be fun, and I think that just, I started to fall in love with it, really enjoyed hitting. I thought that was a lot of fun. So I've been playing it for a long time, and I just think it's a great sport.
At the prep level, according to the bio on CWFalcons.com, you were involved in track and field, basketball as well, but was volleyball always like that number one in your heart as far as sports you played, or has it gotten to that point?
I would say it was probably always my favorite. I think it was really good to continue to do other sports. I think that's just makes you a better athlete in general, but volleyball held a special place in my heart, and it was fun to just be on such a successful high school team with such great leaders as well. I played with some really amazing people. Another
question I like to ask all athletes, and I'm always curious to know what the response is, but again, why Concordia then? So you go from Lakeside Lutheran, you're playing volleyball, get the opportunity to play volleyball here. What brought you here to Concordia?
Yeah, great question. Concordia just kind of checked all the boxes for me. They had great athletics. I loved the coach here. They had the program I was looking for and really excelled in that too. I liked the location. I'm only about an hour away from home, which is just perfect for me. I'm still involved in music here on campus, and I'm just able to be involved in so much. That was something that I did a lot in high school. I wanted to be able to continue it, and I love my decision. I definitely think I made the right one in coming here. I love being a student athlete here at Concordia.
Well, I got to ask you real fast before we wrap things up. You mentioned music. Explain your passion for music, or what exactly you're involved in when it comes to music on campus.
On campus, I take organ lessons just for the fun of it. I've played piano since I was 6, and my faith is something that's super important to me, and I really love being able to play music for church services. And I could do that on the piano, but I really wanted to learn on the organ as well. So kind of picked that up.
Did that just kind of pop in your mind one day? Hey, I'd like to play the organ, or what kind of drove you that route?
Yeah, I've kind of always wanted to. It's just been, how many people do you know that give organ lessons?
No kidding.
It's been I needed to find somebody to teach me, and Concordia just had that perfect opportunity. So I really enjoyed doing it.
No kidding. Good for you. And I guess to wrap it all up, coming back the volleyball route. Okay, this season is just underway, but it's gonna end quickly too. It's an abbreviated campaign. What, I guess, when you look at the rest of the season, what do you have hopes as far as this team goes? What goals do you have for the team? What goals do you have for yourself?
Yeah, I'd say for the team here, I would still like to be able to take this conference championship. I think that's still something that's super possible for us, and I know that's a team goal that we have. I just want us to continue to have fun with the season and to use every opportunity that we get, because we're so lucky to be able to have any matches, or even as many as we do. So Personal goals, I just want to, have fun and enjoy my time too. It's been a crazy year, and I just feel blessed to be able to play again, to play other teams, and, we're just in a really great situation here that we do get to have some sort of season, and I couldn't be more thankful.
All the best. Sophia, thanks a lot for your time. We'll be cheering for you and the Falcons as the season progresses. And again, they'll be home on Sunday against Edgewood at 2 p.m. Next conference doubleheader at home comes your way March 31st against MSOE at 5 p.m. That's Sophia Collins. Thanks to KO Day at our first segment, to Sam Dunn behind the scenes. Thank you for watching. I'm Matt Menzel. Thanks for joining us for Falcon Focus. And as long as it's safe to do so, we'll join you again next Tuesday here on CWFalcons.com.